Hey guys, it's Tyler, and for this little video that I have going here, today on the 7th of March, would be my father's 50th birthday. Half a century he will be turning. It's just weird that for the 8 years since he's been gone, still hasn't like really felt the same without him around, and I would have gone out like earlier today. Gone over to see him at his apartment, and to the point to kind of give a story about that. Before he passed, he was making plans to move out of the house that we were in initially, right on the northern, somewhere else in the northern part of Connecticut, where there was still a bit of a struggle between himself and his girlfriend at the time, and he was looking for some places. He was gonna look for a place a few towns over. He would have either kind of stuck around there for a bit or just kind of moved somewhere else, just so that way he had the time to himself to finish up his own work and all. As you guys have seen from a few videos that I've done, when I did a vlog about my father eight years ago, and then doing a full-on like 30-minute video back on MCC, back on Halo, when I had a full discussion about him, and then when I mentioned about another game that was like from my childhood, and just one of those kind of other things where either my father or my brother kind of would just hop on and just kind of play around with us for a bit. But just as I wanted to kind of give a bit more of a story to some of that stuff, as I didn't really get a chance to really explain it all thoroughly. So when I mentioned in the vlog about him being a specialist, as I kind of as I was naive enough to really kind of leave some stuff out of that. He did a lot of self-employment, where he was making articles, writing articles, to help other condominiums, either in Connecticut, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and I think those are be the cases. He was helping some condominiums get approved with FHA and Housing of Urban Development, getting them approved, and just kind of sort out a lot of financial stuff with them. And I still remember there was the one day where he was having a call. He had a call with one of the other owners of a condominium complex, and I was sitting up in the front seat in the car, and we were just kind of running through. I was helping him just run through the numbers, and just like I was literally just kind of just being that kid where I was literally I was just wanting to kind of help out my father to kind of run through some numbers. But he was a overall math geek. He was anything you can pretty much just put out like right in front of him, like any kind of math equation. Like he will literally look through and try to get it done. He was that kind of math genius. There was just a lot of other stuff that my father like did a lot for. Especially, he was actually asked to come into my school years and years back at the high school, where he was asked to come in and talk about some of his career, some of his employment history. After he passed, some of the people managed to get some of the video recording, and they showed that right off. They showed it right off to me. I think I may have that kind of sitting around somewhere. So like I wish I had like some of the stuff like kind of sitting around so that way I'd be able to show you guys. Seems I still kind of came a little unprepared for this one. There's actually certain like times here and there where I was looking back at his YouTube channel, where he kind of posted like some of the stuff that he did not only with myself but with my brother and, like I said, his girlfriend at the time. I'll admit there have been some instances where me and my father didn't really see eye to eye on some things. When he also tried to help with some of my wording to try to get them all sorted out. I will say that I do appreciate like all the time that he did spend like with me and my brother, and having some of the collected funds to get me a bass guitar, though I haven't really touched it in a long time. And I have, unfortunately, my drums still sitting in storage at the moment. But as I am hoping, once I get my own place and out of the apartment here soon, um, I am hoping to kind of get the drums out of storage and really just get back into the swing of things with it, because I really need that kind of stress reliever right now and try to get back in the swing of things and get all this rust off my bones. And so it'd be really good to kind of just get my whole thing situated again and just have myself go through the memory lane when my drums was still sitting in a corner of my dad's garage, and I'd be playing them throughout most of the afternoon, or maybe about like an hour or two, just to kind of get get in the swing of things and kind of self teach myself a bit more with it, because that was how I managed to get most of my stuff with the drums. I was just honestly just listening to music, playing along with it, and just have myself just be self taught. And that was the kind of thing that was kind of more my passion and some piece of my strength. But it did have a bit of a downfall where I still wouldn't have been able to read off some of the music notes, as most of the band classes like to really go through. But it's just a piece of it also is more about like having that kind of imagination, trying to come up with things on your own. And so that way, when I do get a chance to like maybe play my own music or make my own music or start like working with a band and all, I would have that kind of imagination and try to play along with the music that's being played. My father was the kind of person that liked to keep himself in reality. He really wanted to look into the now. So, a bit of a story. When I was first getting into the anime franchise, like watching some of the other shows when they were available at the time, um, there was just some concerns that my father was really kind of putting onto me, and I didn't really understand it at the time because I was still a kid. Um, but after high school and I started to finally realize what he was meaning, I really had to take those words to heart. Where he only wanted me to look into reality instead of looking into the whole fantasy realization from watching cartoons, so to speak. Um, but I guess another thing that he didn't happen to kind of realize was that I'm not too sure what kind of went through his head, because he was a very stubborn and a very particular person. But I'm not really too sure if he kind of realized it later on, where as I'm kind of watching these shows like Sword Art Online, Elemental Delayed, Gurren Lagann, some of the other like action, adventure, romance, drama stuff that I was watching back in the day. Um, there was a lot of imagination that was put into these things, a lot of story into them. So when I was on my own, and sitting down in the basement where we had a computer sitting right next to the Xbox at the 360 at the time, I was off writing my own stories. And there was one story in particular that still kind of I still kind of held on to as a bit more of a sentimental value, where I try to take a piece of a futuristic point of view, and add in some of a post-apocalyptic setting into it. But at the time at this time, as well as we had like a whole bin of Bionicle toys at the time. I was I didn't realize that I was kind of doing more of a reference to that it back in the day, as I was still very naive. But as I'm kind of looking back at the story and realize that I really messed up on some of my stuff. So as I was going back and doing some editing, trying to be sure that it was more of a humanoid, robotic humanoid kind of aspect, instead of taking the ideas from the Bionicle stories. I really had to take it into that kind of perspective and just be sure that I wouldn't be getting myself into trouble with doing a bit of a copyright. And so I really had to think about that now, um, as I'm actually right now still doing a bit of an edit with that said story. And so I haven't really got a chance to really like look back at some of the other stories that I kind of started on but didn't get a chance to finish. The one, the humanoid story, I did happen to finish that and have it printed like so long ago. I don't know where I actually put that at the moment, and I'm still been trying to look for that ever since. But maybe once I get the edited version of the humanoid story of the machines, kind of printed out, well, reviewed and printed out, then I'll probably have that one finished up. But that would probably be like way beyond down the road. Like I said earlier, it's still strange. Still doesn't really feel the same. Doesn't really feel right that for my father being quarter of a century, turning 50 today, it still it still hasn't like really still hasn't really settled in, and it just and it's just kind of hitting me where I I don't even know what to really say. Sorry you have to see me like this, guys. I just because lately, for the past month or two, um, I've been going back into listening some of his stuff, where he was listening to more of like the heavier stuff, I want to say. Like he was going off listening to Van Halen, um, Iron Maiden, AC/DC, Def Leppard, like a whole bunch of these 70s, 80s, like, and I'll admit maybe some back and forth 90s stuff, and then he was very particular. He was very particular when it came down to more of like modern today's kind of music. And I still remember there was the one night one night where me and my dad were having a bit of a drive. We were heading home from somewhere, and there was a certain metal band, and I think I talked about this before. There was a metal band that I played for him. It was Demon Hunter, if I remember right. He saw a particular interest with these guys, and he even said that he will take the time to look into the music and see if that'd be something he would listen to. And I honestly felt so accomplished in myself to finally get a chance for my father to listen to something that's a bit more of today's kind of music. And I kind of just feel bad that he still doesn't really get that chance to really listen to it. Didn't really get a chance to really listen to their music. And like some of the other artists that I still kind of go back into, like Phil Collins, who was doing his own music and did some work with the band Genesis. And then there was Bryan Adams, John Rzeznik from Goo Goo Dolls, and some things of Shinedown. And don't get me wrong, I will still hold Linkin Park like close to my heart. They have been like my absolute childhood band for the longest time, and so there's still been a lot of other bands that I still listen to, and some bands that I kind of go on and off with to try to listen to them a bit more. And then it's just going down that memory lane of listening to some of their music that I have forgotten when I was a kid. So it just had like a lot of stuff kind of placed like on my heart a little bit, to the point where I was kind of feeling a little close to having a bit of a breakdown, because it was just a lot of good memories. So anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, and don't forget to check out the annotations and the previous videos that I made. And thank you again so much for watching, guys. And thank you for all of your support over the years. And I'll see you in the next video.